I am the unforgettable first love, the white moonlight ex-boyfriend of a sweet romance novel heroine who got shipped overseas. But listen, the reason I bailed wasn't for some fancy study abroad program or some tragic medical treatment. Nope, it was because I gladly took $50 million straight from the heroine's wealthy father. My mind-reading system had warned me way back then that I was practically cursed from birth to be the malicious male supporting character, just disposable cannon fodder for the plot. And by Evelyn's side, a cheap knockoff guy who looks about 60% like me was destined to show up. Even though he would be completely inferior to me in every single way, I was fated to be totally replaced by him. At first, I totally scoffed at the ridiculous idea. I genuinely thought no self-respecting guy could ever get hopelessly trapped by some cheesy romance. I figured I was just playing along with the script for the time being, just so I wouldn't end up being entirely controlled by this stupid system later down the line. After all, besides me, Brad Larson, what other dude on earth could possibly be good enough for a girl like her? Evelyn and Brad Larson. A perfect match. The system kept nagging, saying, "Remember, you have to make Evelyn fall madly in love with you, then brutally dump her and abandon her. You must crush her pure, devoted heart into absolute, irreparable pieces. She is just a spoiled, naive, rich girl. So sweet-talking her is a total breeze, and the task really is not that hard at all. Do that, and you will have successfully completed your grand mission. As long as you actually finish this mission, you can completely avoid your miserable original life script." I just squinted up at the glaring sun, quietly listening to this nonsense. This annoying entity calling itself a system in my head was trying its absolute hardest to persuade me, all while I was busy reminiscing about my chaotic high school days. Let me back up. My name is Brad Larson. When I was 14, I was just messing around on the court with my buddies, and out of nowhere, a basketball slammed aggressively right into my skull. The exact moment I snapped out of my dizzy daze, the absolute, mind-blowing truth of this universe suddenly hit me like a ton of bricks. It turned out I was actually the unforgettable white moonlight of a disgustingly sweet romance novel heroine, a totally malicious male supporting character, just a pathetic stumbling block on the heroine's destined path to true love. The script said that after entering college, I would fall madly in love with the heroine, glow up through practice, and become exactly who she wanted me to be. Then, right when she loved me down to her very bones, I would ruthlessly take $50 million from her overbearing father, resolutely abandon her without a second thought, and flee abroad. I was supposed to live a reckless life of absolute luxury, quickly squandering that entire $50 million down to absolutely nothing. When I finally crawled back to the country, I would discover that the heroine had already fallen head over heels for a man who was somehow even poorer than me. Completely unwilling to let her go, and totally consumed by toxic, blinding greed, I would fully turn into the cliché, malicious, male-supporting character, serving as the final, pathetic stepping stone for the heroine's grand romance before meeting a horribly miserable end. After all these messed-up plot points flashed rapidly through my mind, I just clapped repeatedly while sitting in my sterile hospital bed. "Oh, I see. So we are playing the game like this, huh? Fine, absolutely fine. I am just not playing your stupid game anymore. From now on, I have a perfectly good brain, but I simply will not study a single thing. Just for the fun of it, I will know every single answer to the test, but I simply will not write them down. Just for fun. And if I get deadly sick, I definitely will not go to the hospital. I will just casually cover my own face with a thin white sheet. Just for the heck of it." But the very next second, a frantic mechanical voice rang out in my head. It screamed, "Holy cow! Host, please stop messing around. I am literally begging you here. The entire world is going to completely collapse." I sat up immediately, looked around wearily, and asked out loud, "Who? Who on earth is talking to me?" The weird mechanical voice rang out once again, sighing, "Do not even bother looking around. Only you can actually hear my voice. I am the almighty system directly responsible for maintaining the basic operation of this entire world." Then, it aggressively explained the whole crazy situation to me. It told me that originally, the fictional world within this specific book that it closely monitored was functioning perfectly and normally. But ever since I suddenly gained self-awareness, the core plot began to dangerously deviate from its original track, especially if I continued to stubbornly go my own reckless way. It warned that if the fated male and female leads completely failed to end up together, this entire universe would just totally and utterly fall apart. So I am seriously telling you, no, I am begging you on my virtual knees, please just hurry back to the main plot line. I just looked contemptuously at the empty air around me, glaring straight toward that invisible figure. I proudly flipped it a massive, unapologetic middle finger. I crossed my arms and asked, "Why the heck should I do that for you?" The system's desperately coaxing mechanical voice came right back again, preaching, "What you are carrying on your mortal shoulders right now is the literal fate of the entire world. If you actually continue to be this insanely irresponsible, every single living person will be tragically dragged down all because of your actions. Do you really have the cold heart to just sit back and watch so many innocent people in this world perish? Will you not sacrifice your minor, insignificant self to save the whole world? Or will you just be terribly selfish, completely discard the inherent goodness in human nature, and selfishly drag absolutely everyone straight to the abyss with you? This choice depends entirely on you." Utterly speechless at the audacity, I just smirked darkly and asked, "Oh yeah? And tell me, has this garbage world ever been kind to me? What do all those other random people have to do with me anyway? It is all thanks to your absolute trash tier plot. I lost my father at 6 years old, I lost my mother at 7, and I literally have 0 relatives or friends left in this world. You heartless writers did not even bother to leave me, my poor grandfathers or grandmothers. You guys really know exactly how to build a tragically cursed character, do you not? Screw this. I am not even the main character here, so why on earth are you ruining my life like this?" The system just said helplessly, "Hey, if you really want to curse someone out, curse the big picture writers. This mess literally has nothing to do with me." I completely ignored its pathetic nonsense, lazily turned my head away, pulled the thin white hospital sheet right back over my head, and muttered, "I am way too tired for this. Just let the whole thing collapse. Hurry it up." Seeing that I was completely beyond all stubborn redemption, it anxiously tried to bribe me. "Hey, how about I give you some overpowered extra luck stats? It can massively increase your overall success rate in literally everything you try to do." From deep inside the warm blanket, I muffled back and asked, "What is the use of that? Can your stupid stats actually change my doomed plot?" It whispered, "No." So I just firmly shook my covered head. Unwilling to give up, it continued, "Then how about I generously give you some extra talent stats instead? You will get twice the result with half the effort in literally whatever you learn. How does that sound?" The system boasted. I just scoffed and asked again, "But really, what is the use? Can it actually change my doomed plotline?" I demanded. "No," it replied. "Is something wrong with your digital head system? I am literally a guy who is destined to die in his 20s. So tell me, what on earth do I need these useless buffs for?" After a long, heavy silence, the system finally coughed up a proposal actually worth considering. "I have discussed it with the main system. As long as you can make Evelyn fall madly in love with you, secure her father's $50 million, and then brutally dump her, abandoning her and crushing her pure, devoted heart into absolute pieces. Then, we will consider your mission fully accomplished and finally grant you your absolute freedom." I slowly nodded, locking in the deal, and demanded it throw in the extra luck and talent stats just for good measure. I called it fair compensation for the original author's sheer malice against my character over all these years. The system was completely speechless, but in the end, it reluctantly agreed to my demands. It firmly informed me that I could not speak a single word about plot matters, nor could I write them down anywhere. Any possible means of transmitting this classified information had been blocked by default. It warned me to stop overthinking useless details, focus entirely on the mission, and just be a reliable, well-behaved host for once. Even so, in the grueling days that followed, I still absolutely loved to push right up against the dangerous edge of those mission boundaries. Startling that robotic system back and forth until it was completely dazed and panicked quickly became my greatest daily pleasure. Time flew by in a flash. It was finally September, the highly anticipated day for freshmen to officially enroll at Washington University. The university had thoughtfully arranged for student volunteers to help carry heavy luggage right at the bustling campus entrance. A ton of eager guys were perfectly willing to take the initiative and help the newly arrived. Pretty girls with all their heavy bags. Aside from just showing off their manly strength, They secretly hoped to spark a potential campus romance. But mysteriously, these lucky targets of assistance did not include Evelyn. When the system urgently reminded me that Evelyn had finally arrived, I looked straight up toward the crowded school entrance. The late summer sunlight was completely blinding. The girl standing there in a light blue knit sweater and a crisp white pleated skirt had delicate features that were hard to see clearly in the glare. She was gently holding a small, sleek laptop bag in her hand, bravely standing out in the blazing sun. Looking down at the 5 or 6 massive suitcases on the ground, the pretty eyes showing just above her face mask looked totally lost and completely helpless. Evelyn's established image as a spoiled, willful, and highly calculating rich heiress had already been vividly detailed in the background information the system forcefully transferred directly into my brain. But looking at her now, none of that seemed true. This beautiful girl looked exactly like a fragile morning dewdrop in spring, perfectly fitting the ultimate campus goddess ideal. Was it really her? She honestly looks like a total, naive sweetheart, I muttered under my breath, casting a careful glance over her way. I subtly judged her true nature in just those few words. Just then, the system's annoying robotic voice rang out again. Go, go, go. Right now is your absolute golden opportunity. Hurry up and help the female lead with her heavy luggage, all while proudly showing off that you possess far more powerful strength than the rest of these weak guys. Make sure to inadvertently show off the smooth, toned lines of your arm muscles at the exact same time. The heroine is pure, innocent, and completely lacks any dating experience. Not only will she be deeply grateful for your heroic help, but she will also... Sorry, but I am just not interested. I aggressively cut it off mid-sentence. I casually glanced at the fragile young girl under the blazing sun one last time, then lazily turned right around to walk away. The system's red alert alarm blared wildly in my ears as it frantically begged for mercy. Completely ignoring its panicked, high-pitched protests, I simply walked a few steps away, went right over, and firmly slapped the shoulder of my roommate, who was proudly wearing a bright campus volunteer vest. Hey, Justin, there is a seriously beautiful girl right over there. You want to go help her out? Hearing this golden offer, my roommate instantly perked up like a hunting dog. Without even a second thought, he practically sprinted with me over to the girl. He puffed up his chest and asked, "Do you need some help with all that, classmate?" Hearing his eager voice, Evelyn slowly turned her head to glance at the two of us. After a brief, shy pause, she softly replied, "Yes, please. Thank you so much, seniors." Her white face mask moved slightly, and I could so easily picture exactly what a completely defenseless, sweet, smiling face was hidden underneath it. A rare, gentle breeze suddenly swept through the hot, stifling summer air. Bringing with it a faint, sweet, milky fragrance, she shyly walked a few steps closer, clearly feeling a bit embarrassed. "Seniors, I am really sorry, but I actually have quite a lot of heavy luggage here." "No problem at all," my roommate boasted without a single moment of hesitation, inadvertently showing off the smooth, flexing lines of his own arm muscles. He heroically picked up all 6 of her heavy bags, ready to move mountains for her, and turned back to dismiss me. "Hey, Brad, you go on back and take care of your own stuff. I will go deliver our lovely underclassman's luggage. I will definitely buy you a drink to thank you properly when I get back, man." The system was relentlessly nagging and whining right in my ear, frantically scolding my choices, screaming that this rogue operation completely deviated from the main plot and was absolutely unforgivable. Instead of caring, I just smiled faintly and casually said to my roommate, "Nah, it is all good. I will help her carry some stuff too." Saying exactly that, I smoothly reached out and took the small, light laptop bag right out of Evelyn's delicate hands. My roommate looked completely bewildered. Evelyn looked completely bewildered too. Obviously, this small amount of total luggage was far more than manageable for 2 fully grown men to handle. Up ahead, my poor roommate huffed and puffed heavily, sweating bullets as he carried all 6 of those insanely heavy suitcases like a pack mule. Right behind him, without turning red or losing a single breath, I effortlessly carried her tiny laptop bag. I cheerfully chatted with Evelyn as we casually walked along, keeping her completely entertained with my charming jokes. Every now and then, she let out a bright, sweet laugh. Even without directly looking at her face, I could easily guess that those pretty almond eyes had beautifully curved into happy crescent shapes. Just like that, hidden behind some casual banter, I effortlessly snagged her WeChat info without breaking a single sweat. The system was going absolutely nuts in my ear, practically screaming, "Holy crap, you can actually pull it off like this." I looked up to find my roommate glaring at me, his eyes filled with enough pure jealousy to pierce straight through my skull. You see, Evelyn's affection was straight to the point. The second she locked down my contact info, she didn't even wait for me to make a move. Instead, she started finding every random excuse under the sun to chat with me, day in and day out. My phone constantly buzzed with one adorable emoji pack after another, followed by an endless stream of bubbly voice messages. It felt like she always had a million things to tell me, and an endless supply of little stories she just had to share, ranging from massive news like a brand new dish hitting the cafeteria, all the way down to tiny moments like spotting a stray cat chilling by the roadside. She was always the very first one to text me every morning. With a heart overflowing with pure joy, she used these trivial, everyday things to slowly fill up every empty corner of my life. I couldn't help but wonder, was this really the sheer, overwhelming power of the legendary first love, the untouchable white moonlight? Feeling completely puzzled by it all, I finally asked her, "Why in the world do you like me so much? Doesn't chasing a guy this directly make you feel shy?" Yeah, adios to those expectations. Evelyn just gave a soft chuckle and shot back. "I like you, so I'm coming after you. Why on earth should I be shy? Swallowing my pride is a whole lot better than ending up with absolutely nothing, right?" Her love for me was completely, painfully pure. But my choice to actually agree and date her, that was strictly just to fulfill the cold, hard requirements of the system. When I said yes, she was absolutely over the moon, her gorgeous almond eyes shining so brightly they could rival the stars. What she didn't know was that playing the role of her boyfriend was nothing but a calculated mission for me. It was the only necessary path I could take to escape a truly tragic future, and my one and only choice to keep this entire damn world from totally collapsing. She would often wait for me right outside my lab, playfully bragging that the takeout bags in her hands were home-cooked meals she made herself. In return for her sweet little lies, I would quietly prep bag after bag of actual handmade frozen dumplings to keep her fed. Whenever I got scraped up busting my back at my part-time job, the rims of her eyes would instantly turn red with tears as she slapped a ridiculously cute, bright pink, and totally unnecessary Band-Aid onto my skin. And when the scorching hot days of summer finally rolled around, I handed her a simple string of wooden prayer beads, teasing her that a calm mind naturally keeps the body cool. Whenever she caught me even breathing near other girls, she would stare at me with wide, furious eyes, violently pouting and stomping her feet right there on the spot, looking like nothing in the world could ever cheer her up again. But the very second I softly called out her name, Evelyn would awkwardly and slowly shuffle her way right back over to my side. The moment she got close enough, she would completely drape herself over me, hanging on like a needy, boneless little kitten. Her love was so breathtakingly sincere and blazing hot. As for me, I didn't even know what I was doing anymore. Maybe the heavy feeling in my chest was just a deep, suffocating sense of guilt. During her sophomore year, I took the hard-earned prize money I won from a tough competition and treated her to a trip to the amusement park. There, right under the loud, bursting fireworks, we finally shared a real kiss. Before that night, she was always complaining, asking me why I acted like a stupid, unfeeling block of wood, completely unable to be moved, no matter how hard she tried to flirt with me. She honestly started wondering if she just wasn't attractive enough for me. After all, in our entire 2 years of dating, the absolute most intimate thing we had ever done was a simple, innocent kiss on the cheek. But looking at her right now, that normally bold, highly expressive little flirt who absolutely loved to tease me to death, was suddenly shrinking back completely obedient, her entire face blushing as bright red as a freshly cooked shrimp. Naturally, I couldn't bring myself to tell her the brutal truth that we were always destined to never end up together. That was the exact reason why I never once dared to irresponsibly claim all of her beautiful, fragile innocence for myself. She was always meant to belong to her destined, perfect male lead. While I was merely a temporary, disposable tool, meant only to teach her what true love and deep, agonizing hate really felt like. Gazing up at me, she whispered, "Brad, When we have our own kids in the future, we absolutely have to bring them to this exact same amusement park. My eyes flickered slightly, a sharp pang hitting my chest, and I softly asked her, "Why?" She tightly wrapped her arms around my waist, looking up at me and saying with absolute, spoiled sweetness, "Because this is the magical place where we shared our very first real kiss." I mean, it's incredibly rare for the great untouchable holy monk Brad to actually get a little bit worldly today and willingly lock lips with an ordinary girl like me. I just took the perfect opportunity to pull her even closer by her shoulder, offering absolutely no response to her sweet, playful words. "Evelyn, please don't ever date poor, broke guys in the future." She frowned deeply. "What on earth is that supposed to mean?" She completely straightened up, her face clearly showing her intense displeasure at the harsh words I had just said. "I don't give a damn if you're a poor guy or some rich guy. I like you, and that means you're the absolute best guy for me." With an incredibly serious expression on her face, she continued speaking to me with absolute unwavering certainty. "Besides, I refuse to believe your bad circumstances will stay this way forever. My dad always said, my daughter's taste has been absolutely excellent ever since she was a little kid. The things I set my eyes on are always the rarest and most expensive ones out there. So, the man I firmly chose is definitely bound to be the most outstanding one, too." Brad Larson is a powerful dragon temporarily trapped in a shallow, muddy pond. Once he finally meets the right wind and clouds, he will violently soar straight up to the heavens. I looked deeply down at her, seeing those bright, beautiful eyes completely filled to the brim with raw trust and soaring expectations just for me. My heart violently throbbed with a sharp, sickening ache, but I clenched my teeth hard, forcing myself to endure the pain, and weakly curled my lips to give her a strange, empty smile. Looking back up at the night sky, the gorgeous brilliance of the bursting fireworks lasted for only a fleeting, beautiful moment before the vibrant, multicolored sparks gradually faded out into nothingness, leaving behind absolutely nothing but faint wisps of dark smoke and falling dust, slowly floating away and silently dispersing into the cold, gentle breeze. Swept up in the moment, I gently squeezed her warm hand. All I wanted was to burn the heat of her skin into my memory forever. She skipped happily right back into my arms. Like a lively little sprite, she grabbed both of my hands and pressed them tightly against her soft cheeks. My heart pounded in my chest. God, I was so crazy about this version of Evelyn. But even drowning in her deep affection, I forced myself to snap back to reality over and over again. Deep down, I knew there was no future for us. The cruel hand of fate would never let anyone defy it. The heroine in the end always belongs to the true male lead. Evelyn had never once mentioned her wealthy family background to me. At the absolute peak of our romance, it felt like as long as we had love, nothing else in the world mattered. She didn't care that I was just some broke guy, and I stupidly chose to ignore and forget the inevitable future that was creeping up on us. She wanted to cling to my side every single waking moment. The two of us spent our days in a way that felt perfectly fulfilling, yet completely aimless. But as time went on, my schedule grew busier and busier. Every single day, professors and advisors blew up my phone, rushing the progress on my projects. I used the talent and luck stats the system gave me to cash in on upcoming market trends, hustling to develop a few small business ventures. Evelyn would pout her lips, complaining that the time I spent with her was getting shorter and shorter. I'd just pinch her cheek, totally at a loss for words. I thought that maybe, just maybe, this way she could gradually get used to the days without me. After all, the clock on our time together was rapidly running out. She had completely redecorated our tiny, cramped apartment, turning it into the coziest place on earth. Every time I walked through the door and saw her lying lazily on the sofa, asking if I brought her any sweet treats, I felt a wave of pure happiness overflowing in my chest. That apartment was my true home, a feeling I hadn't known since my parents passed away, and a warmth I had never felt in this world before. It was the only place I ever wanted to anchor my heart. Yet, it all felt so fragile and surreal, like fate could brutally rip it away from my life at any second. Night after night, I was forced to work until the early hours of the morning, chugging endless cups of coffee just to keep my brain functioning. But Evelyn, my little drama queen, actually threw out all my coffee and replaced it with powdered milk meant for toddlers. Helpless against her charm, I'd kiss her waist, letting her wrap herself around me, sit right on my lap, and hook her arms around my neck just to sabotage my work. I nuzzled into her hair and let out a soft sigh. "Evelyn, you care about me so much. I am so damn happy." She hummed with pride, but she was so painfully naive. Out of her line of sight, my eyes grew red with tears. "Brad, wait, are you crying? How is that even possible? My eyes are just exhausted." Yeah, she had absolutely no idea. Every single night, I fought off sleep for as long as humanly possible. I only wanted to stretch out my remaining time with her, like carefully pulling a fragile thread of silk. I would lie in bed silently watching her, desperate to steal just a few more glances at her peaceful sleeping face. Just a few more looks would have to be enough. At dawn, I would wake up in a cold sweat from the exact same nightmare, watching in total despair as the dates on the calendar brutally ticked closer, day by day. Meanwhile, she would gently and tenderly stroke my back, softly asking me what on earth was wrong. But I could only shake my head weakly, jumping out of bed and rushing out the door under the lame excuse of being swamped with work. I wouldn't even dare give her a single comforting look. Selfishly, I was causing our precious remaining time together to shrink even faster. It felt exactly like gripping the blade of a double-edged sword. Applying even the slightest pressure to either side brought a massive wave of piercing, unbearable pain. She told me she understood it all. She fully believed that all my desperate struggles right now were just to build our future together. She jokingly told me that with such a hard-working husband by her side, she could just relax and become a wealthy, gorgeous housewife forever. She never realized that every time she said those sweet words, my heart felt like it was being brutally sliced into a million pieces. Yet all I could do was nod silently with a hollow smile. There were only 2 months left. In exactly 2 months, her billionaire father would track me down and slap a massive check on the table to force me away from her. The second my fingers brushed that paper, our beautiful love story would completely vanish into thin air. I would officially become the pathetic, money-grubbing loser that everyone despised in the original novel, the toxic ex who shamelessly dumped Evelyn for a quick payday. But the absolute truth is, Evelyn, I do not want that $50 million. And I definitely didn't fall in love with you just to complete some stupid system mission anymore. But the system made it clear whether I take the cash or not, our tragic ending is completely set in stone. I am nothing more than a conscious puppet, trapped in a pre-written script. Even if there's a blazing pit of hellfire right in front of me, whether I try to run from it or not, I am destined to be burned to ashes. But if I just follow the cruel tracks they laid out and play my villainous role perfectly, then this world won't collapse, and you will remain its shining heroine, stepping into that happy, beautiful future you deserve. Evelyn, I know you will be so happy in the end. You will find a husband who truly loves you, build a blissful family, and even have your own wonderful children someday. When you look back and think of me in your old age, you will probably just shake your head and sigh at how painfully blind you were back then, falling in love with a complete bastard like me. It is such a pity. When you think of me in the future, those beautiful almond eyes will no longer curve into happy crescent moons, but I am done playing the malicious male lead. By then, I will be completely hidden in the darkness, locked away in a place you could never possibly find. I will be watching you secretly like a thief, watching the two of you fall madly in love, and then going absolutely insane with agonizing, gut-wrenching jealousy. But do not worry. This time, I am wide awake. I will not ruin your perfect romance ever again. That fateful day arrived way too fast. Just the night before, I held her close in my arms, breathing in the sweet, familiar scent of her body, and asked in a raspy voice, "Evelyn, if I left without saying goodbye, would you be mad at me?" She just laughed and said, "What is this, a soap opera?" I looked down and said, "I am serious." She immediately looked up, her eyes putting on this fiercely cute glare as she said, "Yes. If you even dare to leave me without saying goodbye, I will break up with you forever, completely forget you exist, and change to a new boyfriend every single week." She hummed proudly. Then she added, "Do not think I am not popular, okay? There are tons of guys at school just lining up to hand me love letters." She extended her fingertips to gently trace down my cheek, choosing her words carefully, trying to make me jealous. "We have been together for almost 3 years, and I am already getting bored of you. It would be the perfect excuse to find a younger, cuter guy." I pinched the tip of her nose, smiled, and whispered, "You little ungrateful thing." Suddenly, The light bulb above us flickered unsteadily and dimmed right down. Under the interwoven light and shadows, the faint flashing glow reflected on her beautiful face, making her look blurred and just a little out of reach. With a bitter smile, I reached up to turn off the light entirely. "Tomorrow," I murmured. "I might be back very late. If the light is fully broken, just replace it." Early the next morning, I made her breakfast. I turned back to take one last, long look at the tiny rented apartment where we had lived together for so long. Evelyn was still fast asleep in bed. I just could not help myself. I leaned down and gently brushed my lips against hers. "Goodbye, my Evelyn." Outside, the tall poplar trees swayed wildly in the wind. The biting north wind seeped through the leaves, making a harsh rustling sound, row after row. The cold wind blew across the treetops, slipping down along the crowded, bustling city streets, blowing the freezing autumn chills straight into my bones. I clenched my fists tightly, but in the very next instant, I just let go weakly, feeling the subtle, trembling vibration as the freezing wind blended with the warm blood rushing to my fingertips. Feeling utterly lost, I walked toward the high-end cafe. It was the exact spot where I had made an appointment with her father just yesterday. If I follow the script, will I really be able to avoid the terrible things I am destined to do after returning to the country? I had asked myself this question countless times before, but I needed to confirm it with the system one more time, just like a desperate death row inmate asking over and over if there was still a chance to survive. The cold, mechanical voice rang out in my head once more. "Yes. Right now, as long as you follow the plot, take the $50 million from the heroine's father and go abroad, you will have completed your mission. But this plot point counts as a minor climax. So, you need to deliver your lines exactly as we provide them. Though, this is nothing to you anyway. Once you finish this major plot point, you will no longer be bound by the script, and you will even walk away with $50 million. You will become the only character to ever escape the laws of the script, entirely free to start your own life. But there is one crucial point that must be emphasized. You cannot return to the country for 3 years. This 3-year period is the crucial timeline where the true male and female leads finally meet and fall in love. Your appearance would severely disrupt the plot, so you absolutely cannot show up." I stared at the scenery rapidly receding outside the car window and silently gave a nod of acknowledgement in my heart. The cafe was incredibly upscale, featuring the kind of luxurious interior design that instantly makes people feel intimidated yet comfortable. The entire place had already been completely cleared out. Only at a window seat sat a middle-aged man, dressed in a sharp, expensive suit, casually holding a cup of coffee. I walked right over, took a seat across from him, and greeted him calmly. A faint smile tugged at his stoic face, showing absolutely no trace of real joy or anger. "Mr. Larson, do you know the real purpose behind me asking you out here today?" Of course I knew. Mr. Vance, a terrifying man who had been a dominant figure in the business world for many years, would absolutely never be so foolish as to just hand over a check to drive away a poor guy. I knew that somewhere in some hidden corner of this cafe, perhaps right in front of my face, there was a high-definition camera pointing straight at me, recording my every ugly expression. If his daughter ever refused to give up hope on me, this surveillance footage would become his ultimate weapon to destroy her faith. He finally spoke. "All right, then I will not waste my breath. I will not maliciously speculate that you, Mr. Larson, were only after our family's vast wealth and status when you started dating my Evelyn. But at the very least, Mr. Larson should clearly understand his own situation by now. From what I know, your parents died early, and you barely managed to claw your way into a prestigious university through your own sheer effort. Those tiny projects you have been working on lately do indeed have some decent prospects. Brad Larson, you are a smart man. But in the end, you are still far beneath a family like ours. You and my daughter are from 2 completely different worlds. There's absolutely no way I'm handing her over to a nobody like you." The old man sat back, looking entirely too comfortable, his expensive coffee sitting dead cold on the table between us. Even while tearing my life apart, his tone was dead flat, dripping with absolute authority. I kept my mouth shut, mostly because the system hadn't given me my cue to speak yet. He kept going. "I've tried talking some sense into Evelyn, but she's been stubborn since she was a little girl. The kid just doesn't know when to quit. He flashed a cold, tight smile. But listen to me closely, Brad Larson. I've been her father for over 20 years. I know how she ticks. Deep down, she's just young and foolish, with zero clue about how the real world actually works. If she stays with a guy like you, she is going to bitterly regret it. Once the honeymoon phase wears off and you're fighting over rent and groceries, there will be nothing left but pure resentment and a totally ruined life. He slid a crisp check across the table. So, make your choice right now, Mr. Larson. Do you walk away with real money or drag her into a miserable future? Staring at the glowing dialogue options the system suddenly fed into my brain, I slowly reached out and picked up the check. I casually glanced at the string of zeros, forced a greedy smirk onto my face, and shoved it right into my pocket. You know what, Mr. Vance? You make a ton of sense. I'm not an idiot. Obviously, I'm taking the cash. I mean, what the hell is love actually worth anyway? I let out a sleazy little laugh and kept playing my part. Honestly, I only dated Evelyn because she's hot, and walking around with a rich girl gave me massive bragging rights. But lately, man, she is just way too annoying and incredibly clingy. She wants to control every single thing I do, and it's totally ruining my chances with other girls. Being around her this much is honestly suffocating. So don't you worry, Mr. Vance. Since I've got the money, I'll pack my bags and get as far away from her as humanly possible. His face instantly darkened with pure disgust. I could only imagine the absolute heartbreak and rage Evelyn would feel if she ever saw me acting like this. But Evelyn's dad had finally gotten exactly what he wanted, and he clearly wasn't going to waste another second breathing the same air as me. As he stood up to leave, I called out to him one last time. Hey, Mr. Vance, do you need me to dump Evelyn face to face? I can completely humiliate her in person, tell her I used her, and absolutely crush her hopes. That way, she'll never even think about looking for me again. Otherwise, I'm just not going to feel good about taking all this cash. That was the final, agonizing line the system forced me to say. For the first time, his calm mask completely cracked into furious rage. That won't be necessary. Just get out of my sight. Vanish from my daughter's life right this second, and never, ever come crawling back to disturb her. I just silently stared at the poplar trees swaying outside the window. Fine, consider me gone. Just pass on one last message to her for me, Mr. Vance. Tell her not to waste her time waiting for a jerk who broke her heart, and to never, ever date a broke guy again. But the real words my heart wanted to scream never made it past my lips. What I really wanted to say was, live a beautiful life with the man you're actually destined for, and be endlessly happy forever. Mr. Vance just shot me a look of absolute, sickening contempt, spitting out 3 final ice-cold words: you are worthless. The brief, dizzying sensation of weightlessness hit me as my plane suddenly pierced through the heavy clouds, leaving me staring blankly out the window in a total daze. The system had already booked the ticket for me. Everything happened so fast. On the exact same day Arthur Vance cornered me at that cafe, I took his dirty money in the morning, and by the afternoon, I was walking through the airport gates. With nothing but a single, worn-out suitcase to my name, my forced exile was set in stone. Maybe the very first time we met and fell so deeply in love was only destined to happen so it could end in this tragic goodbye. While waiting for my flight to board, a voice message popped up from Evelyn. I couldn't stop myself from playing it. She was sobbing hysterically. "Brad Larson," she cried out. "Come back here right this instant. I'm giving you one last chance. I don't care what you said or what happened. As long as you come back to me, I'll give you absolutely anything you want. But if you don't come back right now, you will be the person I hate most in this entire world." After that, a massive string of voice notes flooded in, each one longer and more desperate than the last. I couldn't bear to listen to another second of her crying. Goodbye, my one and only love, Evelyn. Exactly 1 year after being exiled abroad, I wired all $50 million right back to that exact same bank account. $50 million might be absolute pocket change to the insanely wealthy Vance family, and honestly, a sudden deposit of tens of millions probably wouldn't even make them blink. I didn't return it to act like some noble, pure-hearted saint. I just couldn't stomach the crushing guilt of treating the girl I loved like absolute trash. Giving the money back helped me sleep just a little bit better at night, and it made the beautiful memories of our love feel just a tiny bit more real, even though, deep down, I knew I was just pathetically lying to myself. When I first landed overseas, my phone blew up with calls from back home, especially from my old college roommate. He spent hours yelling and groaning at me, desperately demanding that I fly back home, calling me a completely heartless bastard. But I physically couldn't go back. Worse yet, thanks to the system, I couldn't even tell them the real, twisted reason why I was forced to stay away. I never deleted their messages, and I never blocked their numbers. I stubbornly held on to them, just desperately hoping to catch a tiny glimpse, to catch any fleeting glimpse of what Evelyn's life was like without me. But as the months dragged on, even those small updates faded into complete, deafening silence. Evelyn and I had completely and utterly vanished from each other's worlds. Knowing how this plot was supposed to go, I pictured the two of us separated by thousands of miles of distance and destiny. By now, Evelyn must have already crossed paths with the actual male lead, right? Her opinion of him had to be changing for the better. She was probably already accepting another man into her life, taking him by the hand to meet all our old friends, right? Look at that, Evelyn. Turns out I'm actually not that malicious of a villain after all. Honestly, I just wanted to do exactly what the system said and start a brand new life for myself. After spending half a month abroad adjusting to the culture shock, I started hacking my way to the top. In my chosen career, I was killing it. And trust me, there was absolutely no shortage of people throwing themselves at me. People over here were just so passionate, so openly expressive. It reminded me of the bright and bold Evelyn from back in the day. But it still wasn't the same. Evelyn always had this completely unique spark that nobody else could ever replicate. Sometimes I'd just laugh at myself and think, man, Evelyn is probably so deeply in love with that male lead right now, flirting back and forth with him without a care in the world. Why on earth am I acting all high and mighty, staying unconditionally loyal to a ghost? I was clearly the one who abandoned her. Yet no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't bring myself to move on from Evelyn. It was like my heart forgot how to love anyone else. So, I poured every ounce of my energy into my grind, working myself to the bone just to numb the wild thoughts that plagued my mind all day long. Those 3 years couldn't exactly be called agonizing, but hell, they definitely weren't easy either. So, when that cold, mechanical voice suddenly rang out in my ears again, my long, dormant mind reacted like a drop of water hitting boiling oil. I instantly exploded with panic, completely at a loss for what to do. Brad Larson, it droned. The male and female leads have successfully finished the main plotline. The system will now unbind itself from this world. After this, you will be able to freely take back full control of your own life. To be honest, after all these years of companionship, I'm actually a bit sad to say goodbye. Well, maybe not that sad. Even though you always kept me on the edge of my seat, you absolute brat. You made me constantly terrified that you'd break our agreement one day and cause this entire world to collapse, but fortunately, it is all finally about to end. You can write the rest of the plot yourself. Wait, I was free? I could actually go back home now, but should I? They had already finished the main plot line. What would even be the point of me returning now? Honestly, I didn't seem to long for it nearly as much as I used to. By now, Evelyn must have completely erased me from her memory, right? God, I wonder how she felt when she saw that leaked surveillance footage. Hearing me say those deeply, incredibly hurtful words, line by brutal line. She probably hates me to the very bone by now. She even said it herself, that I was the person she despised the most in this entire world. So, was I really going to rely purely on my lingering feelings of love for her just to go back and risk it all? Without a single doubt, I was still hopelessly in love with Evelyn. But I had to respect her new romance. She clearly never wanted to see my face again. Why should I go back just to stir up her painful trauma and cause endless, messy misunderstandings between her and the guy she actually likes? But hey, no plan ever survives contact with reality. Out of nowhere, my phone started buzzing. Arthur Vance. He hesitated for a few agonizing seconds before the call finally connected. And during those few seconds, a million terrifying thoughts flashed through my mind. Was this about the $50 million? Or did he somehow discover that Evelyn's new boyfriend looks exactly like me? Did he mistake that guy for me, thinking I'd sneaked back into the country and broken our sacred agreement? No. Come on, the old man shouldn't be that brain dead. Brad Larson. Do you still remember me? His voice sounded exactly the same as it did 4 years ago, except it lacked a bit of its usual arrogant bite. I remember you perfectly, Mr. Vance. Back then, you handed me $50 million to make sure I left your daughter for good. But 3 years have already passed, and I broke up with Evelyn exactly as you demanded. I haven't shown my face in front of her a single time since that day. So, I really wonder what business you could possibly have with me now, Mr. Vance. Dead silence on the other end. He didn't speak for the longest time, so I decided to strike first. Mr. Vance, surely you don't think I failed to keep my end of the bargain. No, Brad. I believe you. That $50 million that magically reappeared in my bank account a while back, that must have been sent by you, right? Oh, Brad. Your Uncle Arthur has completely misjudged you all these years. I feel so incredibly guilty. Do you want to come back home? I swear, I won't stand in the way of you and Evelyn being together ever again. Wait, what? My head was practically exploding with question marks. Did this ruthless Arthur Vance just get possessed by a ghost or something? A sudden, sickening premonition welled up inside my gut, and I furrowed my brows. Wait a second. Could this be the plot self-correcting? Was the universe trying to force me, the supposed malicious X, to go back just so I could meet some miserable, scripted end? Did that trash system backstab me again? I quickly hardened my voice. There's absolutely no need for that, Mr. Vance. I've already returned your $50 million. We are completely even now. I've been living a great life abroad these past few years, and the core focus of my career is strictly overseas. I have absolutely zero plans to return anytime soon. If there is nothing else, I'm hanging up now. But right as I pulled the phone away, he stopped me in a sheer, panicked frenzy. Wait! Wait, Brad, please! Look, I was dead wrong back then, Uncle Arthur pleaded, his voice dripping with desperation. It took me this long to finally realize that you and Evelyn, you two were endgame, a totally perfect match. A gorgeous couple, literally a match made in heaven. You are light years ahead of that scrub, Ethan Miller. Hearing that damn name, I let out a bitter, freezing laugh, my voice dropping to ice. Mr. Vance, you seriously want me to fly all the way back, just to play the villain and chase off Evelyn's current boyfriend? He choked up, clearly embarrassed, but still tried to sound morally outraged. He is absolutely not her boyfriend. He's just a shameless gold digger trying to use my daughter as a ladder to climb the social ranks. That's the truth. Just trust your Uncle Arthur on this one and come back to see for yourself. You'll understand everything the second you see it. Seeing that I wasn't buying a single word of his sob story, he desperately dropped a massive bombshell to bribe me. Brad, if you just come back, I will give you 1/3 of all my company shares as a wedding gift. I squeezed my eyes shut, a heavy wave of exhaustion washing over me. Mr. Vance, both back then and right now, I couldn't care less about material wealth that doesn't belong to me. And I definitely have zero interest in meddling in your messy family drama. If you're really losing sleep over this guy, maybe that fat check you used to chase me away would work wonders on Mr. Miller, too. I scoffed to myself. Right now, I've got all the cash and power I could ever need. There was no way in hell I was stepping back into that cursed storyline just to get a tragic ending all over again. Besides, what was the point of flying back? Just to be a pathetic stepping stone for her and her new leading man's epic romance? No freaking way. Not happening, he stammered. Uncle Arthur knows you've been absolutely killing it, making a legendary name for yourself on Wall Street lately. You probably don't give a damn about money anymore, but Evelyn, let's just leave it at that. I cut him off sharply. Mr. Vance, I have a board meeting in 5 minutes. Without waiting for a reply, I hit end call. Knowing how this twisted plot actually works, I smirked, guessing why he was so desperate to track me down. Me, the exact same guy he once paid off to disappear. The so-called male lead the system forced onto Evelyn was a totally useless piece of trash with nothing but a pretty face, hiding a seriously shady, wolf-like ambition. Not only did his resume completely bomb Arthur Vance's ridiculously high standards, he also came with a nightmare family of blood-sucking, violently old-fashioned parents who just wanted a free ride. But because Evelyn was still deeply traumatized by our past, she was harboring a massive, burning grudge against her dad for ripping our relationship to shreds. No forgiveness. None. Because of that, the plot dictated that the harder Arthur fought against this new guy, the harder Evelyn rebelled. stubbornly clinging to her toxic new romance. As I slowly pieced together these messy fragments of my memories, the heavy exhaustion in my chest just grew darker. Evelyn wanted to prove to the world that she could protect her true love, but that guy wasn't me anymore. So, I wasn't going back. I would absolutely never step foot in that city again and fall right back into the system's sick little trap. But humiliatingly enough, reality backhanded me across the face way faster than I could have ever predicted. The stupidly simple reason? My ID card had just expired, and the law demanded I fly all the way back to the country to renew it in person. My first instinct was to throw cash at my buddy Justin to handle the paperwork, but he quickly shot me down, saying only immediate family could pull that off. Feeling completely dead inside, I let out a massive, soul-crushing sigh. I mean, who told me to be a lonely orphan with 0 parents? But that depressing thought only made Justin burst out laughing at me. He chuckled. Bro, it's been literally years since all that drama. You're seriously overthinking things right now. Just book a flight and come back. We haven't grabbed a drink in ages. Your boy right here is going to throw you the sickest welcome back party ever. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, my mind racing, unable to catch a wink of sleep. Just as I was cursing the sky, convinced this was the system dragging me back into its twisted game, my phone buzzed with an eerie text from an unknown number. It read, Brad Larson. Being so overly paranoid about every little detail is only going to destroy you. The system unhooked itself from your life a long time ago. I am telling you this one last time. The rest of this crazy story is entirely yours to write. I froze, totally dazed for a split second, and when I blinked, every single trace of that weird text message had completely vanished. It was literally like a fever dream, fading into thin air without leaving a single trace. I shook my head, trying to clear my thoughts. I guess you really can't dodge fate forever. If I have to face my past, I'll just take it one agonizing step at a time. 3 long years can change a person completely. Gripping my phone, I leaned back deep into the plush leather of the airport's VIP lounge, quietly waiting for my assistant to arrive. Staring at my own blurry reflection in the giant glass windows, I saw a guy lounging lazily in the seating area, carrying a heavy, bone-deep exhaustion. Having hustled like an absolute maniac in the cutthroat corporate world these past 3 years, I had completely killed off any trace of that naive, innocent kid I used to be. Evelyn used to say my vibe was like a gentle breeze and a bright moon, just a pure, soft-spoken guy. But now, I'm completely unrecognizable, worlds apart from the sweet guy she once looked at with such admiration. If I suddenly walked right up to her now, would she even... No, forget it. There's no point torturing myself with stupid what-ifs. I dropped my gaze to the floor. Suddenly, a painfully familiar perfume drifted right past me. My blood ran cold. I froze, my eyes snapping up, frantically searching the crowded room. There she was, rocking a stunning red dress, a flight attendant trailing behind with her luggage as she strutted right past me. Her wavy curls bounced lightly with every step she took. She was still just as breathtakingly radiant and beautiful as I remembered. My eyes were completely glued to her, tracking her every move. Right at the exact moment she reached the exit, she glanced over her shoulder. My eyes locked straight onto hers, but all I found was a cold, chillingly indifferent stare. I always knew I would eventually cross paths with her again after I made my return. Man, I had played out a million different scenarios of our reunion in my head. Whether she stormed up to scream in my face in a fit of absolute rage, or tore me apart with harsh, biting sarcasm, I was totally prepared to face the music. But honestly, I definitely didn't expect to bump into her this early in the game. Nor did I ever anticipate that inside those eyes, there would be absolutely zero emotion. It was just like staring into a stagnant, lifeless well with no ripples at all. It was the exact same empty look she gave every single passing stranger. And just like that, in the next instant, she completely turned her head away. The very next time I saw her was half a month later, all thanks to a totally random coincidence. In the hospital, Justin wore a miserable, defeated look on his face as he whined, "Who could have possibly known? I heard you were finally back in town, so naturally, wasn't I super excited? I drove just a tiny bit too fast and ended up getting into a massive car wreck. I was completely speechless. Going 180 miles per hour is what this idiot calls a tiny bit too fast. If you hadn't opened your mouth, I would have seriously suspected you deliberately crashed your car just to track me down and make me the sucker who pays off your hospital bills. Besides, the fact that a brat like you even survived this mess is an absolute miracle. Seriously, did you activate some kind of immortality cheat code? Hehe. Then I guess I'll just have to trouble my good bro Brad to head down to the payment counter at the very end of the hallway to settle the fat bill. Shaking my head at his ridiculousness, I slowly walked toward the payment counter. But right as I was about to reach the desk, a voice drifted out from a nearby hospital room. That familiar female voice struck me again. My footsteps instantly came to a dead halt. I knew deep down I shouldn't be acting like this. She and I were nothing but total strangers to each other now. I really shouldn't be wasting my attention on her anymore. Not to mention, she already had that picture-perfect male lead acting as her boyfriend. My foot lifted to walk away, but then immediately froze in place once again. I anxiously fumbled around for the cigarette pack hiding in my pocket, leaned my back against the nearby hallway window, and just started smoking in silence. I honestly didn't even know what the hell I was doing this for. Whether she was actually sick or not was strictly her own personal business anyway. Even if I did know what was going on, she certainly didn't need me hovering around to gently coax her into taking her medicine. And even if she really was sick, the Vance family was the single largest shareholder of this entire hospital, so absolutely no one here could possibly dare to mistreat her. The voice drifting out from the hospital room was neither too loud nor too soft. It definitely didn't sound like that little spoiled young lady was the one suffering from an illness. "Evelyn, my dear, thank you so much for arranging this beautiful hospital room for your auntie. This is honestly the first time I have ever realized a hospital could be this incredibly luxurious. It is all thanks to my wonderful son finding such a perfectly blessed girlfriend like you. Oh right, speaking of which, you and Ethan have been dating for quite a long time now. So, when exactly are you two kids finally getting married?" The voice belonging to that middle-aged woman did not hold back for a single second, aggressively pressing forward step by step. "Our dear Ethan is just extremely outstanding. He has been incredibly smart ever since he was a little kid. When are you going to take him home to meet your dad? Your father will most definitely appreciate a fine young man like him. When the perfect time comes, you two young lovebirds will live in absolute harmony, and you can just let him manage all of those big family businesses entirely by himself. You can just comfortably stay at home in total peace and enjoy your luxurious life, striving to give us 2 beautiful grandchildren within 3 years. When that happy time comes around, I will happily come over to help you take care of the little children." What incredibly venomous, manipulative words. The hand holding my cigarette just could not stop violently trembling. I truly understood Evelyn better than anyone else ever could. Even though she carried a tiny bit of perfectly understandable upper-class entitlement, she never threw the toxic tantrums of a spoiled rich girl, and she firmly possessed her own strong core values and independent judgment. This kind of manipulative, beat-around-the-bush rhetoric, she would usually reject it in a heartbeat. Yet, in the very next second, I clearly heard her softly say, "All right, Auntie." Bang! The unlocked door of the hospital room was ruthlessly kicked wide open by my foot, completely startling the group of people talking inside. With an ice-cold expression on my face, I slowly swept my sharp gaze straight toward that old woman who had an eerie, almost ghost-like face. Her sharp cheekbones were extremely prominent and her dark eyes were deeply sunken. Even though she showed a very faint trace of genuine illness, she possessed an expression that looked entirely calculating, greedy, and incredibly harsh. Somehow, Evelyn actually couldn't perceive this blatant toxicity right in front of her at all. If she couldn't hear the manipulation, could she seriously not even see it? Did she somehow go completely blind over these past 3 years? I cast a disgusted glance at the man standing off to the side, wearing a crisp white shirt. He was practically brimming with this sickeningly youthful, naive aura, but I absolutely refused to admit it. The damn system said this so-called male lead looked 60% like me. Honestly, he looked like he just had a completely, utterly punchable face. How on earth did this clown supposedly look like me? Finally, I took another deep, incredibly intense look at Evelyn, who was standing there so obediently, while my own chest was completely suffocating with fierce, pent-up anger. I forcefully pulled my dark gaze away from her and reluctantly opened my mouth to offer a fake apology. My apologies. I accidentally kicked open the wrong door. Evelyn was just completely different from the fiery girl she used to be. The massive gap was so shocking that I genuinely felt like she wasn't even the real Evelyn at all. The man quickly took a protective step forward, gently held the woman's hand in his, and softly asked, "Evelyn, you weren't too startled by that, right?" Watching this sickly, sweet display unfold made the angry veins in my temples throb absolutely violently. I'll admit it, I was completely consumed by a maddening, extreme frenzy of jealousy. Evelyn just stared at me, curling her lips in a robotic, lifeless way, showing absolutely zero emotion on her face. "It's totally fine. We were just about to head out anyway, though I guess I should thank this gentleman for holding the door open for us." Ethan Miller's gaze darted back and forth between me and Evelyn, finally locking onto my face for a tense second. His chest heaved just a bit, and his sharp brows furrowed tight. "Wait, do you two know each other?" Evelyn shot back a cold, blunt no. Instantly, the tension drained right out of Ethan and his mother's faces. I lowered my eyes, biting back my feelings. I really didn't want to cause a scene or disrupt them any further. But just as I spun around to leave, Ethan suddenly called out, "Wait, excuse me. Are you Mr. Brad Larson? The one who just got back from overseas? Mr. Larson?" I didn't even bother denying it. Ethan practically sprinted over, way too eager to shake my hand. He beamed, "Man, I literally just saw the news about your return on my phone. I seriously admire everything you've pulled off in the overseas financial world. You're a legend. And you know what's crazy? My friends always used to joke that the two of us look pretty similar. Man, it really feels like fate." Still sitting on her hospital bed, Ethan's mom was absolutely glowing with pride, shamelessly boasting about how incredible her precious son was. She was clearly over the moon, watching him rub shoulders with someone so powerful and influential. In her mind, once Ethan married Evelyn and wormed his way into the Vance Group with elite backing, her boy was guaranteed a spot in high society. Just thinking about all that wealth and status made the wrinkles around her greedy smile crease even deeper. Hearing his mom lay it on thick, Ethan just shook his head, playing the humble card. "Mr. Larson, my mom's always like this. Please don't mind her. Oh, by the way, can I add your socials? I'm actually starting my new job at the Vance Group in a few days, and I'd love to pick your brain for some advice when the time comes. Oh, and when my girlfriend and I finally get engaged and married, it would be an absolute honor if you graced our wedding with your presence." I caught a glimpse of the spoiled heiress behind him. Evelyn was already glaring daggers at me. I instantly shut him down. "No thanks, I'm really not interested." Honestly, I had absolutely zero desire to watch Evelyn walk down the aisle with another guy. If I went, I might just snap, hijack the whole villain script, and completely ruin the wedding she so deeply cherished. I couldn't even fathom how much more she would despise me if I did that. Not long after, completely unsurprising to anyone, Arthur Vance caught wind of my return. Flashing this massive, welcoming smile, he invited me straight to his corporate headquarters to talk about a so-called collaboration. The guy practically rolled out the red carpet, personally escorting me from the front doors all the way up to his CEO office. His smile looked suspiciously kind. "Ah, Brad, my boy. I assume you've already bumped into my girl, Evelyn, right?" The second he said her name, Arthur's cheerful face instantly sagged with pure exhaustion. I gave a polite nod and kept my cool. "Mr. Vance, I'd appreciate it if you just called me by my first name. And as for your daughter, yes, we did cross paths. To be brutally honest, through this entire messed-up farce, the only person I truly owed an apology to was Evelyn. For her, I was willing to bend over backwards. I'd compromise, lock away my own desires, and give her an endless amount of tolerance. But as for anyone else, it was strictly cold, hard business." Arthur pressed on. "Did you happen to see that man with her too? That man. Wow. You could practically taste the venom." It seemed Arthur Vance seriously loathed Ethan Miller with a burning passion. Then again, Evelyn really did have spectacularly awful taste in men, picking two broke losers back to back. I honestly couldn't help but feel a sting of frustration at her terrible choices. I casually replied, "Yeah, I saw Evelyn at the hospital that day. She was playing servant for his mother." Furious, Arthur slammed his fist so hard onto his desk it rattled, he cursed, complaining that his own father's high blood pressure was acting up. Yet she couldn't even be bothered to check in on her own grandpa. But instead, she's sprinting off to play maid for a shameless social climber and his toxic old hag of a mother, acting like she was brainwashed by some dark magic. After venting his rage, Arthur took a deep breath to calm down, stood up, and gave my shoulder this heavy, comforting pat. Brad, you've got to listen to your Uncle Arthur here. I swear to you, the only person Evelyn truly holds in her heart is absolutely you. Why else do you think she'd dig up some scrub who looks exactly like you? That Ethan Miller kid is nothing but a cheap knockoff substitute. That brat Evelyn specifically paraded him around just to piss me off. He can't even hold a candle to your caliber. The guy is ridiculously small-minded. Look, it's one thing that he comes from a dirt-poor background, but he's completely useless when it comes to actual capability, too. His eyes are always darting around like a rat's. You take one look at the guy and you instantly know he's up to no good. I honestly don't know what kind of voodoo spell my girl is under, threatening your Uncle Arthur here at every turn, and she's my one and only precious daughter. Get this, last time, I tracked the punk down, threw money in his face, and told him to get lost. And he actually had the nerve to put on this fake, morally superior act. I'll be honest with you, Uncle Arthur definitely prefers a straight shooter like you. When the money's on the table, you just grab it and go. You're straightforward and you've got real ambition. I always brag that whatever my daughter picked was the absolute best, well, except for this current disaster. You, Brad, you never disappointed your Uncle Arthur. This sudden, massive info dump from Arthur was super intense, completely catching me off guard. Even though I fully knew I was cast as the malicious villain here, even though I was written as the money-grubbing first love in this twisted script, and it killed me that Evelyn and I didn't make it to the end, I had to keep my head on straight. I definitely wasn't about to act like one of those melodramatic protagonists who blindly throw their lives away in a jealous frenzy. Since the male and female leads were already deeply in love, system trajectory or not, I was basically doomed to hit a miserable dead end. So I just pressed my lips together and looked away. I'm really sorry, Mr. Vance. I don't really know what's going on between them, but I'm absolutely not getting involved or stressing over it. And honestly, fighting with other guys just isn't my style. What happened in the past is done. Everyone gets to start fresh. Yeah, a totally new life. I used to think the whole if you love them, let them go thing was total garbage. After falling for Evelyn, I practically tore myself apart, caught between walking away and clinging to my toxic obsession. But now I finally get it. I was just way too selfish. Just the thought that messing with the original plot would make her delicate brow furrow and fill her head with all this pain, resentment, and annoyance, man, it literally ripped my heart out. I just wanted her to stay bright and happy forever, like a wild rose blooming on a stone wall. If stepping back was the only way she'd find real happiness, then I was honestly glad I could do this one last thing for her. Suddenly, the office door swung open. Evelyn stood right in the doorway, her fists clenched tight. She was wearing this yellow sundress that fell perfectly to her calves, looking as fragile as a piece of fine porcelain. So beautiful, but like she might break at any second. Ethan Miller strolled in right behind her, completely oblivious to the fact that she was totally falling apart. Flashing this sickeningly sweet smile, he looked straight at Arthur Vance. "Hey, Uncle Arthur. We've met before. I'm Evelyn's boyfriend." And yeah, he leaned real heavily on the word boyfriend. Ethan shot me this incredibly dirty look. Judging by the timing, they definitely overheard my entire conversation with Arthur. "Evelyn said you had a job lined up for me, so she brought me by to check it out," he said, glaring at me like we were sworn enemies. The second Arthur saw Ethan, he completely snapped out of his daze. He whipped around to Evelyn and roared, "Evelyn, you are an adult. It is high time you started acting like one." Dragging a guy with absolutely zero real qualifications into the Vance group and demanding a manager spot on day one, does he honestly think he can just waltz in and ask for it? After hearing what I said earlier and now taking the brunt of her dad's fury, Evelyn's chin actually trembled, looking totally crushed. She shot me this incredibly complicated look, then just turned on her heel and stormed off. Ethan threw on this nervous kiss-up face. "Uncle Arthur, please, don't be mad at Evelyn. She just cares about me way too much. I swear I'll treat her right, and I'd hate for my being here to cause any drama between you two. Look, I know you're not exactly my biggest fan right now, and yeah, my family background isn't anything special. But I'm a hard worker. I've really been hitting the books and learning the ropes lately. Arthur was practically boiling over, but the guy had decades of cutthroat business experience. He just let out this freezing cold laugh. Let me make this crystal clear. I will never, ever let my daughter marry you. And don't you dare think you're getting your grubby hands on the Vance group. If Evelyn insists on playing house with you, then as her father, I will cut her off completely. She won't get a single share, not a single dime, zero property, and you won't see a red cent of it either. When I'm gone, every last penny goes to charity. Meanwhile, I was just hovering on the sidelines, literally inching toward the door. Seriously, this was their family drama. The last thing I needed was to get caught in the crossfire. But right in the middle of his rant, Arthur caught me trying to pull a vanishing act. His tone completely flipped. Brad Larson here graduated from the exact same elite university as Evelyn. He spent a few years overseas and literally became a legend in the financial world. He's brilliant. He looks the part, and they were each other's first loves. Now that is the kind of son-in-law I'm looking for. He is the absolute perfect match for my daughter. But you're nothing but a complete disappointment. That crafty old fox, he was dead set on using me as a human shield. I just wanted to get the heck out of there. Ethan gritted his teeth and pushed back. Uncle Arthur, I don't even care that Evelyn hid this from me. He's ancient history. I'm the one who loves her now. And I'm the one she actually wants to spend her life with. Plus, at the end of the day, I'd never dump her just to chase a quick buck. How is that anything but totally heartless and selfish? Arthur just let out this brutal, mocking laugh. Oh, of course, a little pocket change won't make you go away. You're aiming for the entire Vance group. Your appetite is absolutely massive. Uncle Arthur, wait, you've got it all wrong. Cut to 10 p.m. I had just stepped out of the bathroom after a hot shower, tossing a towel around my waist. I was about to dry my hair and head to the study to knock out some work. Suddenly, my phone lit up on the nightstand. It was a text from Justin. 28 Center Road. Volt Bar. I stopped rubbing a towel through my wet hair and raised an eyebrow. Wait, wasn't this idiot supposed to be stuck in a hospital bed? So why the hell was he suddenly checking in from a dive bar? Rolling my eyes, I started typing, "No way, I am not going." But before I could hit send, my phone buzzed with a picture. My stomach completely dropped. It was Evelyn, totally passed out over the bar counter. Right on cue, Justin sent a follow-up text. Helping you out one last time, man. Do not blow this chance. When I arrived, the bar was cloaked in heavy shadows. There was Evelyn, slumped heavily against the counter, completely wasted. A half-empty bottle of hard liquor stood right next to her. Her pale, slender arms were sprawled out. One arm cradled her cheek, showing off half of that breathtaking face she never even knew was so gorgeous. Her fragile neck looked just like a delicate willow branch, soft, elegant, and completely vulnerable. I had never once seen her this drunk before. Honestly, if it were not for the sleazy creeps staring her down from the corners of the room, I would have stood there just a little bit longer, burning this rare, unguarded side of her straight into my memory. Back when we were together, in all those years we dated, I absolutely never let her drink. She used to joke that she was the ultimate lightweight, ready to black out after a single sip. Her old, radiant fire had burned down into something so fragile. Her proud, entitled spark had faded into this exhausted surrender. Damn it, Evelyn. What the hell did you go through these past few years to change so completely? Guilt totally flooded my chest. Almost like she could feel my stare, Evelyn stirred. The exact second I stepped up to her, she lifted her head. Her gorgeous eyes were cloudy, completely out of focus. She squinted hard, trying desperately to figure out who the blurry guy standing over her actually was. Staring right through me, she dropped her gaze and mumbled softly, Brad Larson. Brad Larson. Yeah, I whispered. It is me. No, it is not you. You are not him. Suddenly, her drunk, sluggish daze morphed into explosive anger. Brad Larson ran away. He went overseas. He just hated being tied down with me. I was the pathetic one chasing him the entire time. She let out a bitter huff. Oh, I know. He only ever said yes because I annoyed him into it. Well, screw that. I am absolutely not flying across the ocean to track him down. I, Evelyn Vance, actually have some pride left. I am going to find some guy who looks exactly like him. A cheap knockoff, just to piss him off until the day he dies. But then her tough facade totally cracked, her lips trembling with pure heartbreak. So why? Why does it feel like that bastard cursed me? I stood frozen, staring down at the woman who had just dropped her heavy head back onto the sticky bar counter. Her face was a messy portrait of pure exhaustion and alcohol. Completely crushed by my own emotions, I choked out, "Is that true? Do you still love him?" She paused, her long butterfly wing eyelashes fluttering as she actually thought about it. Finally, she whispered, "I love him." But a second later, her tone completely flipped, dripping with pure venom. "No, I do not. I hate him. I hate him more than anyone in the world." I just let out a heavy, helpless sigh. "All right, I hear you loud and clear. You love me the most." I gently wrapped my arms around her limp, drunken body, just wanting to get her out of this dump. As I hoisted her up into the air, Evelyn immediately started squirming, highly uncomfortable. She slurred out, "Hey, back off. Do not mess with me." But her strength was basically a joke to begin with. Add a whole lot of alcohol to the mix, and she easily let me scoop her right up into my arms. Trying to soothe her, I murmured, Okay, take it easy. Does that feel a little better now?" She instinctively buried her face right into my chest, nuzzling deep and giving a tiny, honest nod, even while her mouth stayed completely stubborn. "Who are you, anyway? Who gave you the right to boss me around?" I was genuinely terrified that if I actually said the name Brad Larson out loud, she would violently snap awake and fight me. So, I kept my mouth shut, letting the cute little drunkard mumble her crazy nonsense. By the time I carried her outside, it was already well past midnight. And surprise, surprise, her current quote-unquote boyfriend had not called her even a single time. I looked down at her and asked, "Evelyn, I am taking you home. Where are you living right now?" I was seriously dreading the idea of calling Arthur Vance. God only knows what kind of explosive drama that would trigger. Just as panic started setting in, she casually reached into her pocket through her sleepy haze and pulled out a familiar keychain. My heart skipped a beat. I recognized those keys instantly. Driving her down memory lane, the midnight scenery flashing outside the window felt like a punch to the gut. The exact streets we used to wander down. That open plaza where she used to cross her arms and pout, before shuffling over to hug me like a clingy stray cat. The old lab building where she would wait just to walk home with me, and the campus gates where I first laid eyes on her. After driving in circles to shake off my racing thoughts, my car finally rolled to a stop right in front of the old apartment complex we used to share. The giant sycamore trees lining the street were already shedding their dying yellow leaves, scattering them like ghosts across the moonlit pavement. A handful of late-night walkers drifted by, painting a scene that felt warm, yet unbearably lonely. It is crazy how the most ordinary sights can drag you screaming right back into the past, scooping her back into my arms. I stepped out of the car and carried her straight up to the little sanctuary where we used to be so deeply in love. Twisting that terrifyingly familiar key in the lock, I walked inside and gently laid her down on the mattress. But as I looked around the dark room, my breath totally hitched in my throat. Everything, every single detail, was exactly the way I had left it 4 years ago. I was completely stunned. Bit by bit, inch by inch, I took in the whole apartment, my eyes stinging with fresh tears as I stared at the little wooden dining table Evelyn had picked out. She always loved putting the flowers I bought her right there in a simple glass vase. Over on the couch were the throw pillows we had picked out together. They had this sleek, modern look, sitting right next to a goofy stuffed animal, a weird, quirky contrast that was just so perfectly us. The hanging vines and little succulents she had raised by the windowsill were still totally thriving and full of life. Inside the closet, my old college shirts and her pretty dresses were still hanging there, completely tangled up together. There were picture frames scattered everywhere, too, with a huge collage of photos taking up half the wall. Photos of her kissing me, photos of me kissing her right back, pictures of us holding hands, snapshots of her curled up safely in my arms, shots of her giving me that adorable, angry pout, and the perfect photo of us sharing a magical kiss under the fireworks. While she slept deeply in the bedroom, I just sat perfectly still on the living room couch all night long, drowning in the memories of our past. By the time Evelyn woke up, I had just finished making breakfast. "Why am I here?" she snapped, completely reverting to her cold, untouchable shell overnight. But after seeing the drunken, vulnerable Evelyn last night, I knew for a fact she was just pretending to be tough. Evelyn Vance always had her fierce pride. I set a warm plate on the table and softly said, Just eat some breakfast first." She glared right back and shot, "Who the hell wants to eat breakfast with you? If you're not going to explain anything, then just drop it." She furrowed her eyebrows, looking incredibly pissed off at herself for blacking out the night before. So I explained, "Justin texted me last night to come find you at the bar. It was super late. You were drinking yourself into a total daze, rambling absolute nonsense. You handed me your key, so I brought you home." Flustered and embarrassed, she slowly shut her eyes and muttered, "What exactly did I say?" Looking at her panicked expression, I honestly found it kinda cute. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing, giving a fake little cough instead, acting like I was about to spell out every single embarrassing detail. "You said I started, but she cut me off in a panic." "Never mind. Don't say it. It was probably just stupid, drunken nonsense anyway. You absolutely cannot take it seriously." I gently slid the plate of food closer to her and said, "Well, I happen to believe that drunk words are sober thoughts. But hey, if you say we shouldn't take it seriously, then we'll pretend it never happened." Evelyn was ready to explode over that first comment, but before she could start screaming, my strangely gentle tone left her completely choked up and speechless. Suddenly, her phone started blaring, totally ruining the mood. She glared at the caller ID, scowled in absolute disgust, and aggressively hit decline. Ethan Miller. Or maybe it was Ethan's nightmare of a mother, calling to demand her future daughter-in-law wait on her hand and foot. Just the thought of that loser made my blood boil, so I blurted out, "By the way, about your new boyfriend, Evelyn, didn't I tell you to stop dating broke guys?" "Brad Larson, what gives you the right to trash talk him?" she snapped. "Weren't you just a penniless nobody back in the day, too? At least Ethan actually cared about me from day one. He didn't force me to play mind games just to date him, and he definitely didn't just up and abandon me for a paycheck. So, Evelyn, you really hate me that much, huh?" She didn't say a word. So I whispered, "Evelyn, you can get revenge on me however you want. Just let us get back together. Once we do, you can spend the rest of your life punishing me." The entire room went dead silent for a second. "Brad, are you completely insane? You took the cash and walked out on me. And now, with just one casual little sentence, you think we can just get back together?" I shook my head. "That $50 million. Before I even went abroad, I sent it right back to the account. Go ask your dad, Evelyn. As long as you're willing to try, there's still a chance for us." "As long as I'm willing?" she scoffed. "Then tell me, if it really wasn't about the money, why did you leave me in the first place?" My jaw instantly locked up, leaving me completely speechless. I couldn't say a single word about the secret plot that forced me away. She just kept grilling me. "Did you just never actually love me? Or did you just look around and decide, hey, she's the easiest target to string along?" "Brad, I absolutely despise how you always bottle things up. You constantly kept me in the dark and let me look like a total idiot. If you had just lied to me and made up one decent excuse, I would have forced myself to believe you. But you aren't even willing to do that. Well, Evelyn Vance has her pride. I don't want your pity, and I definitely don't want you coming back just because you feel guilty." She blinked rapidly, her reddened eyes fighting back a flood of tears. "Let's just leave it at this. Next month is my engagement party with Ethan. Show up or don't, I really don't care." She gave this heartbreaking, bitter smile and pointed to the door. The moment I left, I fell violently ill. Our epic romance had completely hit a brick wall, leaving me absolutely gutted and drained. Looking out through the giant French windows at the freezing, depressing autumn wind, I couldn't stop thinking about those golden years when we were madly in love and how she used to beg for a sunny, outdoor summer wedding. She used to talk about wearing this pristine white satin gown and crystal heels, walking down the aisle with her dad, straight into my arms. But times had changed, and not a single one of her dreams had come true. "But Evelyn, are you actually happy like this?" A brutal itch scratched at my throat, forcing me to cover my mouth and hack out 2 harsh coughs. I pulled a thick folder from the safe and shoved it into my briefcase. Honestly, it was a good thing she blocked my number and wiped all my contact info after I left the country. Left with 0 options, I had to track down Arthur Vance myself. We met at a fancy restaurant right by the Vance Group headquarters. The weather was getting pretty chilly, but Evelyn still looked incredibly graceful when she walked in. She was wearing this soft, lotus pink knit sweater. Her cheeks were pale and soft like fresh cream, but she'd lost way too much weight. Just like the shift from summer to fall, Her bright, fiery energy had completely faded into something cold and bleak. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice like ice. "I really don't think we have any reason to sit down together. I still need to hit the bridal shop to pick out my wedding dress. So, if you've got something to say, make it fast." Her eyes were totally hollow, pushing me a million miles away with every word. I couldn't stop myself from coughing a few more times as I slid the folder across the table. "Your dad told me that if you seriously insist on marrying Ethan Miller, he's going to completely disown you. You won't get a single penny of his trust funds or company shares. In fact, he probably already canceled all your credit cards, hasn't he?" Evelyn shot me a deadly glare. "Are you just here to laugh in my face?" I shook my head, flashing a bitter, painful smile. "It's nothing like that. Listen, Evelyn. I know you have absolutely no reason to ever forgive me for what I did. At the end of the day, it was all my fault. Even if I can't be the man who stands by your side, I can at least make sure you stay a rich, beautiful woman. This file is a voluntary transfer of all my assets. It might not seem like a big deal to you, but it's more than enough to keep you living comfortably for the rest of your life." I sat there, just watching her desperately try to hold back her tears. Her hand was actually shaking as her fingers brushed the cold cover of the folder. I sighed. "I only made this money for you. Anyway, I'm just giving it to you in a different way now. Look, I've met Ethan Miller and his mother. They are definitely not the easiest people to deal with. They are absolutely scheming to use you for everything you've got. Please, don't be stupid enough to tell them about this money. And if, somewhere down the line, I caught myself, swallowing the dark thought, and forced a smile. Never mind. Let's not jinx things with bad luck. I really do wish you nothing but happiness. Consider me your ultimate backup plan. Whenever you need to look back, I will always be right there behind you." Evelyn's beautiful eyes completely welled up with tears. I just waved it off and said, "All right, enough of this. Weren't you supposed to go try on your wedding dress? Don't cry until your eyes puff up. Otherwise, people are going to think someone is forcing you down the aisle at gunpoint." But those stunning almond eyes were just too full, and she couldn't hold the floodgates closed any longer. A single, crystal-clear tear rolled down her pale cheek like a pearl. Seeing her look so heartbroken wrecked me, but she just knit her brows and cried out, "Brad Larson, how dare you say things like that? Do you honestly think that after completely abandoning me, tossing a little bit of cash my way is going to magically erase everything you did? Well, you are dead wrong. You walked out and didn't even have the guts to give me a single reason why. I am never going to forgive you as long as I live." I felt a crushing wave of guilt. I was so sorry. It wasn't that I didn't want to tell her the truth. It was that I literally couldn't say it out loud. Fast forward to the day of Evelyn's engagement party. Coincidentally, I had some massive overseas business matters to take care of. I was heading out of the country again for a while. Honestly, it was for the best. Anything was better than standing there, watching with my own two eyes as the only woman I ever loved walked right toward. Another guy who was complete and utter human garbage compared to me. Look, it doesn't matter anyway. According to the stupid plot line the system jammed into my head back when I transmigrated, the story was finally reaching its end. And hey, I didn't even act out the script it tried to force on me. I refused to play the toxic, obsessive villain who violently sabotages the romance between the destined male and female leads. I kept my cool, stayed totally rational, and managed to secure both massive wealth and fame. I practically nailed my main objective. Back in the day, I actually laughed at the idea of love. I thought a real man shouldn't let himself get chained down by romance, and that faking a relationship was just a smart loophole to keep the system off my back. It was supposed to be nothing more than playing a damn role. But love is pure torture. Going even a single day without seeing her beautiful face literally drives me insane with longing. So, in the end, I guess I turned into the exact same pathetic loser from the original plot anyway, totally unwilling to let her go, and completely eaten alive by the pain. Wearing a dead, cold expression, I pushed my suitcase forward, standing near the boarding gate feeling entirely hollow. "Brad Larson!" That gorgeous, familiar voice echoed from right behind me. For a split second, I swore my broken brain was hallucinating. "Are you seriously running away again? How many years is it going to be this time, huh?" I froze, slowly turning my body around. Evelyn was standing just 3 feet away, dressed casually in a gray long-sleeved shirt and jeans. She clearly sprinted all the way here, her chest heaving as she desperately tried to catch her breath. "I'm done stubbornly obsessing over why you left," she cried out. "Compared to the thought of losing you forever? The reason you walked out back then doesn't mean a damn thing. I refuse to overthink this anymore." Brad Larson. Couldn't you just try to win me back even a little? I love you so much. If you just say the word, I swear I'll forgive you for everything. This is the absolute last time I am ever being brave. If you walk away right now, I'm truly letting you go. I can't afford to waste years waiting around for you ever again. Seeing her look so utterly shattered and fragile, my own chest tightened, my heart aching as if it were breaking right in half alongside hers. How the hell could I possibly care about catching a flight or anything else at a time like this? I dropped my suitcase right then and there, closing the distance in quick strides to pull her tight against my chest. "I was only heading out to handle some business," I murmured. "I told you. I will always have your back." Evelyn buried her face into my shirt, her quiet, muffled sobs breaking through as she cried helplessly against me. "All you ever do is bully me. You just stand there with that high and mighty attitude, deliberately pushing me around," she sniffled, "just waiting for me to cave. I honestly thought you were leaving me again. I was in such a total panic that I didn't even grab a single bite of breakfast. I absolutely hate your guts," she sobbed. I chuckled softly, holding her closer. "Then I guess I'll just have to make it up to you with a breakfast date." She peeked up from my chest, her tear-soaked eyes blinking blankly at me. "But what about your work?" she asked. "I'll rebook my flight. Staying by your side comes first," I replied. A little while later, sitting inside an airport fast food joint, I popped a straw into a carton of soy milk and slid it across the table to her. She was clutching a massive burger in one hand, taking a huge bite, and grabbed the drink with her free hand. Seeing that my spoiled little princess was finally willing to let me pamper her again, the heavy tension in both my mind and body completely melted away. She shot me a fierce glare mid-chew. "I'm just choosing not to dwell on it right now. But I definitely never said you were forgiven." I let out a helpless, affectionate laugh, gently smoothing down the messy hair sticking to her tear-stained cheeks. "Then I'll just have to try my absolute hardest to avoid a total disaster while trying to win my wife back." She let out an annoyed huff just as her phone started ringing off the hook. She picked it up, gave the screen a single glance, and ruthlessly powered it completely off. I, on the other hand, certainly hadn't forgotten that today was supposed to be her massive engagement ceremony. "Since you ran out on them today, how exactly is the fallout with Ethan Miller getting handled?" I asked. She just puffed her cheeks out as she chewed. "I'm not a complete idiot, you know. The greedy intentions he and his mother had were blatantly obvious. How could I possibly fail to see right through their little act? Besides, whether you stayed or left, I was never actually going to get engaged to that guy. He was just. She shot me a quick, shifty side-eye. "Just a prop used to make me insanely jealous, right?" I finished the sentence for her. "Well, you didn't even get jealous anyway, did you?" She immediately snapped back defensively. "I was just one tiny step away from completely losing my damn mind." "Okay?" I looked at her with pure amusement, feeling a mix of exasperation and deep affection. "Who on earth said I didn't get jealous? Didn't you notice that the second you announced your fake engagement, I literally made myself sick from pure, unadulterated anger?" She gave a tiny, awkward cough, desperately trying to change the subject. "Look, I had already signed a rock-solid agreement with Ethan Miller way beforehand. I gave his mother the absolute best medical care money could buy, and I threw him a cushy job at the Vance Group. All he had to do was play his role as my contract boyfriend and keep acting out his part in our little script after you finally came back. It's just that later on, the guy forgot his actual place. He seriously thought he could marry me to get his greedy hands on my dad's massive fortune. And his mother? She was even more ridiculously over the top. But since I totally bailed on the engagement party this time, my dad is going to be more than thrilled to clean up the messy aftermath." I narrowed my eyes, studying her with a highly suspicious look. "Evelyn, I can't shake the feeling that you are still hiding something huge from me." "No, I am absolutely not. Why in the world would I hide anything from you? Besides, you still haven't even told me the real reason you walked out back then. If anything, you should be the one keeping secrets from me, right?" She ducked her head, taking tiny, nervous sips of her soy milk, a massively guilty expression plastered all over her pretty face. "Whatever. I decided to let it slide. I was the one who messed up first anyway. Fast forward a bit. After returning stateside from my 2-week business trip, I immediately grabbed some high-end gifts and paid a formal visit to the Vance family estate. Since I had made a firm promise to this spoiled young lady, Evelyn, there was absolutely no way I was going to break my word. Arthur Vance sat like a king on his antique rosewood chair, slowly sipping his premium tea. The look that sly old fox shot me was practically overflowing with smug pride. "My little girl is truly impressive after all, isn't she?" he boasted. I sat quietly to the side, completely respectful, offering absolutely no comeback to his gloating. After all, I was planning to marry the man's daughter in the near future. Being a cocky jerk right now would be a terrible strategic move. So, when do you two kids actually plan on tying the knot? There are quite a few things I need to start prepping in advance. Hearing that golden question, I casually flicked my eyes up toward the second-floor balcony, catching a quick glimpse of a plum-colored skirt peeking out from around the corner. Hiding my smirk, I simply said, "Oh, there's absolutely no rush." Instantly, the heavy pouting stomps of angry footsteps marching down the stairs echoed through the grand hall. Without missing a beat, I smoothly continued. "So, let's just make it next summer. Evelyn loves the whole summer lawn wedding aesthetic, and it won't be freezing cold for her to rock a gorgeous wedding dress by then." The aggressive, stomping sounds of her charging down the stairs came to a screeching, sudden halt. A few seconds later, those angry stomps quickly shifted into the ultra-quiet sounds of someone stealthily tiptoeing right back upstairs. Arthur Vance shook his head with a booming laugh. "That girl has absolutely no poker face." Then, his expression turned dead serious as he warned me. "Use this downtime to completely bury that lingering mess with Ethan Miller. Petty, small-minded people like that can become incredibly toxic, especially that crazy mother of his. Especially someone terrified of losing the massive fortune she almost had her greedy little hands on. She might just snap and do something totally unhinged. But hey, I'm stepping back. I won't meddle in the messy drama of you young folks." Arthur Vance totally called it, though. He had incredible foresight. Ethan Miller and his overly dramatic mother were already itching to make their next sneaky move. Watching a literal mountain of wealth money that was practically sitting right in their laps vanish into thin air? Yeah, that stung. There was absolutely no way they were just going to roll over and accept it. But Ethan wasn't completely stupid. He knew the massive, crushing power gap between us. So, he swallowed his pride and chose to lay low for now, desperately clinging to whatever pathetic little benefits he still had left. His mother, however? Total loose cannon. She was completely reckless, even plotting to call up local television stations to cry for fake justice. But guess what? That ironclad agreement Evelyn signed with Ethan back in the day was still very much in play. So, I had someone slap that exact contract right in his mother's shocked face. Did they really think the lavish lifestyle Evelyn handed them for the past few years came for free? Everything has a steep price. And we left them with a brutally clear warning. If that greedy mother and son dared to violate a single clause, every single dime and resource ever spent on them would be converted into hard cash, and we'd demand a full, instant refund. I honestly don't know if the old bat was more terrified of paying back that mountain of money, or just completely shattered that a gorgeous heiress wasn't madly in love with her quote-unquote perfect son. Either way, she literally fainted dead away, right on the spot. Flash forward to the day of our wedding, and the weather was absolutely flawless. Not a single cloud in the sky. The warm, glowing light of that summer twilight was just breathtakingly gorgeous. It makes you stop and wonder, what does marriage actually mean? Performing a sacred ceremony just as the sun sets into dusk. That's the true traditional essence of a wedding. It beautifully symbolizes two souls promising to walk side by side until their hair turns gray. And let me tell you, our wedding was off the charts grand, dripping in absolute luxury. Out on that lush green lawn, surrounded by all our cheering friends and family in the twilight glow, she held Arthur Vance's arm and walked slowly, elegantly toward me. Brilliant, towering fireworks suddenly erupted on both sides of the aisle. Honestly, this was a magical moment my underdog self once never even dared to dream of. Arthur gently placed her hand right into mine. His eyes actually turned red, showing a rare, touching trace of a father's sorrow. I held her hand so incredibly tight, Standing right there under the exploding fireworks, we made our unbreakable promise for life. Evelyn Vance. Besides me, Brad Larson, there is absolutely no other man in this world who is worthy of you. She just gave this adorable, confident little laugh. Of course, that is the one eternal truth. Hey, if you guys enjoyed this crazy ride, please smash that like button. Seriously, don't miss out. And definitely don't forget to save this video to your favorites right now.